Minasan konnichiwa. I'm Kevin Tomoshimasu. I will be doing a quick rundown, or hopefully a quick rundown, on the type of documentation you will require in order to go to Japan. And this is more specifically geared towards people who are planning to live and work in Japan. And for those people who have not graduated yet, or if you don't have a post-secondary certificate like a diploma or a degree, then this video does not really apply to you because most of the English teaching schools require at least a bachelor's degree at the very minimum. Maybe you can get around if you just have a high school diploma, but I'm not really too sure. So this video may not apply to you, just to give a heads up. So this video is taking into account the company AEON, and I'm pretty sure most of you have heard of this company. It's one of the top 4 English teaching schools in Japan called the AEON, and they specialize in teaching English in a more comfortable setting outside of school. So they've been starting since 1973, so they've been going on for quite a while now. Anyway, just to get into the whole documentation process, again, it varies depending on your school, so I cannot guarantee that what I say here or whatever they may have that I may list is different. I cannot guarantee how it's going to be the same, but this is generally what you'll require if they are in a Kaiwa, for example. So first, make sure you know what company and the basic requirements. For example, your CV or your resume, a cover letter, and some schools require you to write at least a 500-word essay of why you want to live and work in Japan. So good things to include in that essay are things like why you're independent, things that make you financially secure, how you are able to adapt in a changing environment, able to work together with other people, and also, again, lots of volunteer experience, and best if you have work experience in the teaching field. So these are some of the basic stuff that you will for sure get to. So I'm just going to go over some of the documents that a company like AEON will suggest. So first, it's the passport. You have to have your passport pages. Make sure when you are sending your passport that it is at least 1 year before it expires, because you want to make sure that you can still come back to your home country after your contract, which is typically around a year, that's over, so you can come back to Canada, or else you're going to be stuck in Japan and it's not going to be good. They will even tell you to renew it if that's the case. So don't worry too much about it. But then if you do have a passport that has been to Japan before, make sure you photocopy the visa sites so then they can also check that. Let's see. Oh yeah, this is very important. You will require 5, that's right, 5 passport-sized photos, so 2x2s. You will need to file them. 4 you send to your school or to the head office, for example in this case AEON, and 1 of them you keep later on when you're doing your COE, which I will talk about later. So the 4 days sent, or just taking your passport photos in general, you have to be smiling and you have to be wearing professional attire. Now this may seem a little weird because why do I need professional attire and why do I need to smile in the passport photo? Well, I'm guessing there are different uses for these photos, again, which is why I need to send 4 in the first place. So here's a really good tip if you want to take these passport size photos. The #1 site I would recommend is idphotoforyou.com. I will put it in the description below. So I'm just going to say that if you are going to use this, use at your own risk. I cannot guarantee whether or not it will work. It worked for me. I cannot guarantee it will work for everyone else. but you want to make sure that you do have a good camera. So a semi-pro or a pro camera is highly recommended because you want to get good resolution photos. Second, make sure you have good lighting. Single lighting just like this is not good enough. Outside lighting may not be good enough either. So you want to make sure you have good lighting to eliminate any shadows that will exist when you're taking the shot, and you don't want any shadows casting behind you. Third, you will need a large single color wall. So if you have walls that are like, have wallpapers on it, that cannot work. It has to be a single color, preferably white wall. And of course, you need a tripod if you're doing this by yourself. If you have another person, that would be good because they can help take the photo for you. But if you're just by yourself, make sure you have a tripod, adjust it, make sure everything's right, get the correct dimensions, and of course, benefits to it is that you can dress professionally and smile in the comfort of your own home. Like you don't have to go outside just wearing a dress shirt and wearing jeans underneath. And of course, you can redo it over and over again to your liking. You can perfect it to whatever you want. And the number one thing is that it is cheap. You can get, I took 8 photos, so that's 2 photos, but then there's 4 in each of the photos. So each photo cost about $1, so I paid less than $2 for 8 passport photos. If you were to go to a place like Black's, they will charge $15 for 2 photos. So you're saving a lot of money, and of course you can reuse it, and especially if they do require a lot of photos like AEON, which is 5, saving that much money is already a good start on your end. So now you got all these photos, you go to the site, process it, make sure to do its thing, and then once you did that, make sure you go to a place that has a self-serve photo booth. So someplace like Black's, I think even Costco has it. It varies depending on the country, but in Canada, these are some of the facilities that you could use. And make sure when you print it, it's high quality, it's the correct resolution. You don't want to stretch it out or anything because that will be distorted and it will lose its correct resolution. So of course, you send 4 over, keep 1, and that will be used for a COE, which I will talk about later. And make sure when you do photocopy your passport to send over to your company, make sure you photocopy more than just 1 copy because you want to be able to carry 1 copy with you. And this copy is going to be very handy because it could provide as an ID when you go to Japan. You don't want to carry your actual passport because this will be pretty dangerous, especially if you lost it or you got mugged or got robbed or you're beaten to death. Make sure you carry just a paper copy so that your real copy could be safe at home in case anything does happen. And this will be beneficial because most places you go to, especially when you're signing up for internet or even for a phone, you will require more than just 1 piece of ID beyond your resident card. So make sure you have your passport with you. And next, going back to the whole COE, make sure when they do send it over to you, photocopy more than 1 photocopy, because even though you're a consulate, depending on where you are, they require maybe 1 photocopy. For me, they only required 1. So make sure you photocopy more than 1 just in case. And when you do send it over to them, you're going to be sending over your visa documents, and that could be printed off of the website of the consulate, depending on the country. Fill that out. Your company, depending on who you're recruited by, they will give you information like your employer, the location, the duration, and your employment status, things like that. They will send it over to you. Just copy it down and give all the stuff. For the COE, you will require a passport photo, and of course, going back to the 4 passport photos, one of them that you send over to them, they use it for your COE. And once they send it back to you, their COE, it's recommended to send a photo that's similar to your COE. That's what I did, and they didn't say anything, so even though I was smiling in it, seems like it was fine. So that's what I recommend, just to keep everything consistent. So that's one passport photo. Second, your passport. You will be giving your passport to them. They hold it for typically a week just to process it, so we won't be having your passport for a week. Third is the visa documents. Fourth, the photocopy of the COE, and fifth, the COE itself. It varies depending on your consulate or your embassy, so make sure you know the correct requirements. And my place did not require a fee. Maybe your place does. But again, make sure you have everything worked out. Again, going back to the whole diploma, if you did not graduate, for me, I just graduated this year, so just a few months ago, and I did not have my physical degree yet. In that case, no need to panic. Make sure you get your official letter of graduation in the future tense, which means that you're anticipated to graduate. Doesn't mean that you are going to graduate, just saying that because of your credits and because of how things are going, you are anticipated to graduate at a specified date. So something like this is suffice enough. So I'll just say to whom it concerns, your name, and of course your degree, your major, and your anticipated graduation date. So June 9th, 2014. This is not permanent. You can still mess up in your last semester and you fail to graduate. But this just gives them an idea that you are going to graduate. Once you did, you can send your official degree to the company so they can verify, or you can send a letter of graduation. This I recommend because it's cheaper and it's safer. Because personally, I don't want to send my actual degree to the people because it is very expensive and it's very risky. And I already got a frame, so I don't want to send the whole thing over. So, letter of graduation, I got it for free, and you can easily ask your, depending on your school, depending on your how it's run, just ask the counselors or some kind of department that handles all the graduation services, and they'll be happy to help you. Make sure, again, photocopy. Number one tip, if you haven't been watching this video or paying attention, photocopy everything you receive or are going to send. You don't want to have loose ends or have some kind of confusion in terms of documents. Make sure you photocopy everything so you have actual physical backups. That's very important. Very, very important. So now you copy your letter of graduation. Make sure you bring your actual copies of your letter of graduation, the official letter, not a photocopy, the official one, and also any certifications like your TESOL certificate. You want to make sure you have these because if you are planning to stay long-term in Japan, you want to make sure that you have these copies so that when you do hop from company to company, you have the actual copies that you can show them. Because if a company like AEON requires the actual copy, other companies will probably require the same thing too. Better to be safe than sorry. And of course, it saves time from your family or friends sending over the official documents, so you just have the actual stuff with you. And last but not least, if you sign up with AEON, there is a $220 fee that has to be paid. That's in Canadian dollars. If you are an American, it's $200, and in abroad, so in the UK or Australia or New Zealand, could vary. I'm not too sure. I don't want to give a price, but this is just to say that you're committed to this company. You're committed to applying and working for this company And of course, they will reimburse you back the same exact amount in your first paycheck when you start working in AEON. So this is just to say thank you for staying committed. We just want to give back this money to you for your first month, just to make your stay just a little more comfortable. So that's a processing fee. Make sure that you do have at least $1,200 or equivalent to 120,000 yen. This will be to cover initial costs when you first move into Japan. You want to make sure you do have cash reserves because you are going to go out a lot. You will be visiting a lot of places, and you are going to be eating a lot of things. Your first month or so, you're not going to get a lot of money. You're going to spend a lot of money because in training they don't provide food. You have to buy your own food. Your living is free, but not your food. So you can average it out to equivalent to maybe $40 per day, and training is about a week. Multiply it by 7, you're getting around let's see, around $300 for the week, and if you convert to yen, that's like 30,000. So that's a good chunk of money gone already. So you do want to carry more. Again, more is safer, more is better, just to be safe and not run out of cash. They do use Visa, so if you do run out of cash, it's not the end of the world. Make sure that places you go to actually does accept Visa. MasterCard, not so much, but Visa, almost everywhere in Japan, they accept it. And that is pretty much it. Once your COE comes, your school will email you emergency contacts and the location of the school. Make sure you carry this on your person at all times when traveling, because immigration, they may ask you information like who's their employer, where's the school, where's their contact information. You want to make sure you have all these things handy when you do go through immigration. And these are some of the basic things that you will require. There's a ton of things, but yeah, if you do have all these things with you, it makes everything go faster. You can process your whole contracts faster, and in the end, you can end up in Japan 1 or 2 months earlier than I am, because for me, I didn't know I need all these stuff. It took me a while to process and gather all these documents. So now I just know some of the things that you will require. Again, different schools require different things, and maybe they require more, maybe they require less. Make sure you know exactly what it is. And if you do have any questions, contact your school or contact your employer or recruiter, or if you have any basic general questions, I'll leave it in the comment section below, and then I'll try to get back to you guys. So that's it for today. I will try to make another one on what to pack, because packing is very important, and there are some things that you may think is okay, but it's actually not. So I will go over that in the next video, so stay tuned for that. And that is all. Matane.